That was a refreshing sound.
Wasn't it great?
I feel like I'm gonna disappoint this thing.
Oh, oh, so good.
Was that right?
Yeah, no, yeah, you did good. You did good.
So I bought these probably 6 weeks ago
We haven't podcasted since.
for the purpose of podcasting. So we are not sponsored by Bundaberg Ginger Beer,
Yet.
but we'd love to.
We'd love to be. Cheers, mate.
Aye, cheers. Thanks, mate.
Welcome to another episode of the Carpe and Zen podcast. I'm Joseph Carpenter,
And I'm Jacob Lauritsen.
and together we are Carpe.
And Zen.
Man, we haven't done a podcast in a while.
It's been a while. I don't know which number this is, but we're recording on May
The 24th. Right?
Yeah, that sounds right. 24th.
I think
Okay,
we-
I'll
I-
take it.
I
I'll
think-
accept it.
I think we would have missed last month entirely. I think we might have missed last month entirely.
I think it's been over a month.
Yeah.
Oh, look, my ginger beer.
Yeah. More ginger beer, mate.
Ginger beer.
It's awfully low in calories. It's not. It's
It's 170.
170.
Yeah, so Joseph introduced me to this when we were shooting the first doc.
Yeah, when we were shooting an American weightlifting story.
Yeah. Which we hope to finish editing this summer.
Yeah.
Speaking of editing, I now have a complete draft of Ace of Hearts.
Bum, bum, bum.
Roaring applause.
I know. Hold on.
We love you.
Jacob, you're amazing.
You're so late. It's about time.
You did so good.
And okay, so part of it was I just finished my semester of school. I'm a high school teacher. And I'd promised my media students that I'd be able to show them the movie before the end of the year. Well, we got to the end of the year and I finished editing it.
You've been testing it on students, right?
Yes, I've been showing it to students.
They've been a good test subject.
Students are okay. So make a very slow burn crime detective movie, then show it to teenagers.
Yeah, no.
What? But like the world is.
But media teenagers.
See, you
You're
also have
showing-
to see.
You're
Yeah.
showing it to media
Right.
teenagers.
Like, okay, so verbally, what they say is they loved it.
hmm
They really liked it.
Well, they also want an A in your class.
It's not a hard A. It's not a class that's supposed to be difficult, right? It's a media class. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not supposed to be hard.
You're not supposed to get it. You're not supposed
Anyway,
to get a C in media.
it's not my English class. I really stress people out for English. Anyway, but so like, they watched it the first day and there's all sorts of interruptions. People are being called out of class. You have to go do things. And I'm like,
Doggone
they
life of a
can't be having a
teenager.
good experience, right?
Right.
So the next day I'm like, okay, I mean, we don't have to keep watching this. And they're like, no, we want to watch it. Also,
They really want
remember
that
how
A.
teenagers watch things, right?
Right. On their phones, not paying attention.
Here's the screen. They're staring down.
For listeners at home, he's staring at his phone.
I mean, that's how they watch
I-
things, but they
that's-
liked it.
Yeah, no, that's how a lot of
They liked
teenagers
it.
watch things.
It's so hard for me to accept. I feel old. But that being said, they had good things to say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
some
a
good
couple twists throughout the story, right?
Yeah.
There was one. I'm not going to get specific, right? Because
Because
I don't know.
everybody that listens to this podcast are all the people that are gonna watch the film. So
right.
we don't
right.
want to. We don't want to spoil.
Anyway,
anything.
so when I was writing the script, there was one big surprise. I wanted to put it right at the very beginning because I didn't think it was going to trick anybody. So I just wanted it out there. And one of our friends, Ryan Riffle, he's just like, no, put this later.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fine. So we shot two versions of it, right? One that doesn't reveal things at the beginning and the one that reveals things later. And so when that moment happened, my students, it went something like this in the classroom. There's the gasp for those who are surprised. And then there's the girl from the back who shouts out, I knew it.
Is it?
So
Yeah.
like that was
Okay.
satisfying to hear them
Yeah.
because
Nailed it.
the movie's really a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn, but it speeds up at the end and things start moving almost too fast at some points.
Yeah.
But
It's like finding out Vader is Luke's father first time.
what?
You only get to experience that once.
That's true.
Have you ever seen that show? No, not the show. The movie, The Chef.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I like the chef.
There's a very interesting scene in which he is. I can't remember what he gives to his son. It's a French pastry. I think it's a baguette.
They go to Café du Monde
Yeah.
in Nolans.
Yeah, I think it's a baguette. And he says, "All right, no, savor it. You only get."
Beignet. It's a beignet.
Oh, it's a beignet. Yeah.
They go to get beignets.
And he says, "Savor it. You only get to taste this for the first time once."
Yeah.
And yeah,
And that's after he spent the summer cooking on a food truck with his son.
and that's something I wish that I would have savored more when I found out Vader was Luke's father. Wasn't old enough to understand.
I remember when I ruined that Luke and Leia were brother and sister
To who?
for my wife.
Oh, that's right. Jacob's wife has only recently seen
Well,
Star Wars.
Okay, when episode 7 came out,
Mhm.
that's when she's like, okay, all right, I'll watch them.
That's recent.
This was before that. This was before that. And we'd gone to Disney World back when this was before Disney bought Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
And they used to do something at
they had the Star Wars week or month.
yeah,
or
Star Wars
something. It was
weekends,
May,
whatever.
Yeah,
And the 501st, which is like I don't
they're a fake stormtrooper outfit that you can actually be a
but
part of.
they have
They're a club.
a bunch of people who do, now we would call it cosplay. I don't think that was the term back then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so there was this woman who was doing a pregnant Padme Amidala, and she's walking through,
Uh-huh.
and I totally ruined it.
Yeah.
Because
remember
my
that.
wife's like, well, who's that? Oh, it's so and so.
Yeah.
She's pregnant with such and such. And my wife's like, oh, what?
It was a magical moment to be there and watch.
There I was.
Ray Park was there.
Hollywood Studios. Oh, Anthony Daniels. Were you there when we did that?
Yeah.
Was that weekend?
Yeah. I got Ray Park fist bumped me, bro. He fist bumped me.
Anthony Daniels.
He did not fist bump me.
Yeah.
Just
and I don't
know
anyway,
why.
so they had a couple actual celebrities there, but yeah.
That was a good weekend.
So I was ruining that. Oh, the times.
Oh, the times.
So, so now I've got a complete edit. Now I'm like, there's all the things I have to fix, you know. So I'm making notes on my phone as I sit in the back of the classroom, just, you know, all nervous because, you know, hard to impress teenagers are watching it,
Ooh.
right? So I'm like, all right,
Teenagers are the
Boom's in the
worst.
shot for this shot. I got to get rid of that. But yeah, I mean, you know, we used a blimp.
Yeah.
And so there's something in the frame you can't really tell what it is. I know what it is. That's the boom. We got to get out of that shot.
Which shot? Is it the office shot?
No,
If it's the office shot, that's not the mic. That is reflections off the door.
no, it was a scene when Ace is walking back and forth and Laura's on the couch.
Oh, okay.
That angle.
Yeah, that probably.
Yeah,
that
the boom was
probably
in the
happened.
shot.
That probably
So
happened a
I
couple times.
just had to crop it out. It was fine. But I'm going through, like, I've got the edit. I've gone through and I've added muzzle flashes and some temp sound for the gunshots.
We need to do a Foley
Um,
pass.
Yeah, we're gonna need to add some Foley. But what I'm going through is I think I figured out how I want to do sound and like how I want to do dialogue. So I'm going through and I've done about the first 15 minutes with that strategy, and then it was the end of the year and I had to focus on that. But yeah, so what I'm going through and I'm just cutting at the beginning and end of every single line. I'm pulling all the background sound to different track. And then I'm leveling and I'm putting a very simple EQ that's just dialogue based EQ on those tracks, and I pulled everything off of it.
Yeah.
And I'm leveling them different, and then I'll go through and tweak what needs to be tweaked. I think what I'm gonna have to do, because we have some bad sound in a couple places. We thought it was a great aesthetic to have this fireplace in several of our shots, and it looks great.
We knew it'd be a problem though.
but you can hear it.
Yeah.
It's a
gas.
it's a gas
It
fire, and
hisses.
it's in some shots more than others, and so I'm gonna have to. I can't cut it out, so I think I'm gonna have to add it in to the background of the other shots and try and find some balance there.
Get it in there and loop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta pull some sound and.
I thought we
so
pulled
through-
I thought we pulled room tone off that fireplace. Did we not?
I mean, there's enough in there.
Hmm.
There's plenty of it. Yeah, so I gotta go through and match all that, and yeah, it's just some nitty gritty stuff. This has been the hardest part of the movie,
The nitty gritty.
is just knowing I have to fix the sound later. It's really slowed me down, and now it's time to do it, so it's
Yeah.
all right. But I treated myself and I bought myself new headphones,
Yeah, and they're pretty dope.
and I'm wearing them now.
Yeah, DT770 Pros.
The Bear Dynamic DT770 Pro 80 ohm.
Ooh.
Yeah. I wanted to get the 250 because I'm like, well.
Well,
but
he messaged
I didn't want to
me.
buy the headphone amp
Yeah.
yet. I don't know.
He messaged me and he says, "Hey, 250 headphone amps. Like, is that going to be?" And I'm going. I don't think I've ever heard of a 250 headphone amp. I mean, not like in normal circles. Like, you're gonna have to get an amp, like a good one. You know?
Yeah, as it is,
those are gonna
I
wanna
have
be
to crank
driven.
for the 80 ohms.
Yeah.
Even though, like, my phone can power it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even just a simple whatever. I don't have to add a DAC or anything to be able to hear it.
And they're
But
clean.
I might want to.
Oh, they're so clean.
Yeah.
Like they might even be lying about how clean the sound is. I'm like,
These-
I don't think it's picking up sound. That's
Okay,
that
so
clean.
right now you're wearing the
What am I
20 the Audio Technica MH20X.
I don't know.
Yeah. The M20X.
M20X.
So they're like $50-$60 headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, "Oh, you need the 50X. Those are the $150 studio. Everybody loves these, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing some research, and I was getting ready to buy those, and then I started hearing about these ones, and I was like, ooh, because they're about the same price.
Yeah.
They're about the same price, but they have a little more range on them for how much they're picking up, and it's really clear. It helps to separate.
They dial
things
out.
I
They
like.
dial out a lot of tin.
I'm happy with them.
They kind of lie. It makes things sound better than they really do.
What?
I know what? It's like getting a really good car that makes you
Yeah.
feel like you're a better driver than you actually are, you know?
Yeah. And then I also recently got just a real simple audio interface. Got the PreSonus USB 96, something like that.
Oh yeah.
It's just a simple, really clean amp.
Mhm.
Audio interface,
It's
but but it sounds better
yeah.
than
It's-
what we're recording on now, which is the Zoom H6.
Yeah.
But
Which
Yeah, so
and
we've been
which
happy
is
with
a
that so
good
far.
yeah, which is a good unit. We've been pretty good with sound. So
yeah, I think that's what I need to work on, because I think we're further along in our skills with the image than we are with the sound.
yeah,
So
we'll get there.
yeah,
So what else have we got going on?
can I talk about the big project that starts in October?
Okay.
I really want to talk about it.
All right.
Okay, but now that I have your permission.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, what I'm going to be doing, I'm taking my time on the audio for Ace, because I think we're at the point where that's the only thing that's going to improve the quality of it, is just to get a really clean track.
Yeah.
And I'm going through and I'm writing some music for it, some original stuff. I've got some looped tracks from Arcade by Output that I've got in at least for temp music right now. But I'm going through and I'm writing some original stuff and doing it through Studio One by PreSonus. So I'm using some of their MIDI stuff to write some. Yeah, and we'll see how it sounds eventually. I'm working on that. So this summer that'll come out. We'll also finish editing our doc, an American weightlifting story, We want to put that out. And once all that's out, it's going to be time. Oh, you hear the AC unit?
Yeah, that's fine.
Then it's going to be time to start talking about the future. And the first big project we have for the future is our studio.
That's right. We are building a studio. I am super jazzed about it too.
I have no words.
Yeah. So here's the story. My parents have some land that they inherited, and so then I therefore inherited, and my wife is just, she wants to build a house. She wants to build a house. She wants to build a house. Now's the time to build a house. And then, of course, the economy's not great right now, especially for lumber, in our area anyway. It's just insane. It's literally 300% more than it would have been 6 months ago to build a house.
That sounds right.
So we're not in like, we're at a point where we really want to build a house. And I said, well, can I build a shop? And she said, sure, yeah, you can build a shop. And I said, wait, really? You can build a shop when we build it? She's like, yeah, might as well just do it all at the same time. Okay.
And that's how he got her.
and then see, that's how you get it. So then I said, well, what if I build a studio? And she says, well, how big? I don't know, 3,000,
Mumble just a little bit louder, just a little bit louder.
And she goes, and so she looks at it and she says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Wow, really? Okay, and so I kind of showed her some layouts, like this is kind of what I want to do with it, and this is what I want to happen. And she'll fight back on a few other things, but then I think, so I eventually now I have this very large studio mapped out. And, she's given me a budget that I can work with. And I'm thinking, oh, I can do a lot with this.
Now, you also slow rolled all this information to me.
Yeah.
Because what you told me was, okay, so we're going to build a studio onto a standalone garage / workshop.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I start looking up.
But I had to slow roll all this to her too. Like,
you're slow rolling both of us, I guess.
This is months and months of effort here.
Yeah.
This stuff doesn't just happen.
Yeah. So I do a quick search on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And I see a floor layout for like a standalone garage, and it's like 25 by 25. I'm like, okay, that's the base. Now I'm going to build off of that, right? It's like, okay. And so I draw something up that I think has everything we want. A studio space, like a recording booth, a control / editing, control room / editing bay, a storage locker,
a theater, a viewing room.
Well, we got to that. We got to that eventually. But I was like, a little space, kind of like green room space, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you start suggesting all these extra things, like, well, why don't we add a kitchen? Why don't we add all these other things? I'm like, oh, okay.
A kitchenette.
This is gonna get kind of pricey. And then you told me the budget.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling a lot better about this. Because I'm like, you can actually get a lot for that budget.
Yeah.
No, if we're in California.
No, not at all.
No. We're in Arizona where things do not cost
a ton.
Crazy prices.
Yeah. So now the situation with the economy is as it is that it is nearly impossible, not impossible, but it is not practical to build a house of the square footage that we want to build right now, or in the style that we want to build right now. So, I said, well, what if we do the building out of steel? Steel prices are still relatively low right now. So, and I've been looking at packs, and the nice thing about those is they, the market doesn't inflate on them a ton when prices go up because they sit on the shelf a little bit longer than like framing packs do. They have a shelf life. So I started pricing some of those out. And next thing you know, my wife's excited about it and she wants to, play with the studio. My wife's also a photographer. So
and this is absolutely, it's going to be a photographer's dream.
Yeah.
A sound recordist's dream, a filmmaker's dream. Like we're building for all this utility.
Yeah.
She can absolutely have fantastic shoots in this location.
But with all this happening, I said, well, like, what if we got the shop up? And she's like, yeah. And she thinks this is a great idea. So Don't
I'm
anybody
sorry to
tell
cut you
her.
off.
Yeah, yeah.
This reminds me of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where they're talking about how you know the reference, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The what is it?
The
The
man
man
is
is
the
the
head of
head,
the
but the woman
house.
is the neck,
Yeah, yeah.
and the woman can turn the man's head. Something to the effect of the women are actually
Yeah.
controlling it, right?
Yeah. Vice versa.
Yeah.
It's 2020, 2021, whatever. So,
Yeah.
but the stinker is right now it's built on a field, and we didn't quite make the season, and I wanted to push the property back as far back. I wanted to push the building back as far back on the property as possible, mostly for sound to get it away from the road, and just excuse me, to get it away from the road, and anyway, harvest season is October. So I'm hoping to have plans done by then. I'm looking at a couple of steel companies to help me design the building and everything that we're going to do. I'll be acting as the contractor. I have a long history in building houses, unfortunately. so I'll be hiring out a lot of the work and doing a lot of it myself as well. But yeah, I figure by early 2022, we will have Carpe and Zen Studios, like a legit studio. Someplace I can go and edit, someplace Jacob can come and edit, someplace we can do screenings for the movies that we
Yes.
are working on.
Should we list everything that's going to be in this
Yeah.
the building?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I mean, obviously some things are up in the air, but we're going to have a Studio A space,
Yeah.
which is the sound stage,
Mm.
big enough for a set.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've drawn up is like 25 by 25, but I don't know what your plans are.
I think we're gonna go just a little bit bigger. We're gonna have like a kind of a gambrel type barn onto the side. So we'll have like a Studio A and a Studio B,
Yeah.
and they'll be both fairly large spaces to work with.
And they'll be able to attach to the garage workshop,
Mm-hmm.
so you can build things in the workshop and then bring it into the studio space.
Right. So we'll and
My
that'll be
dad
all.
was suggesting like a barn door
Yeah.
instead of like the rolling door, whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
So and anyway, that'll be built on. So we'll have a shop there, and obviously like a garage for some cars and everything, but also hopefully with access to the stage, so we can bring things into it. And then another thing that was really important to me was actually to have a sound booth, but not just a tiny sound booth, but something that I could get a band in. Because there's
Right.
actually a lot of local bands here and a lot of local musicians that I know I could entice to come down and record,
There's very little recording space.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned there's someone who has a basement,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
But one thing we're not short on.
The radio stations do not have space for a band to
Yeah.
record.
One thing we're not short on is audio engineers. There happens to be a lot of audio engineers that live here, and they're pretty good. There's a girl that I went to school with. I worked with her up until recently. She just took another job someplace else, but that's her career. She's not necessarily well. That's kind of her side hustle, right? She's an audio engineer. She works for the radio stations. You hear her on the radio all the time. And she records and mixes her own sound, and I'm like, hey, you want to come down? And she's like, yeah, absolutely.
So we want to have a space that we can podcast in,
Mhm.
right?
We can do voiceovers in there. We can do,
But
yeah.
a band can come in and record, and I think that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Opportunity, and a way to actually recoup
Yeah.
some of the expense of the studio.
And and then I was talking to some other things it's gonna have. Like we're gonna have that Studio A space and that Studio B space, and then we'll have a screening room, which is
I really like this idea.
yeah, which is really important to me. For one, I want to be able to screen our movies, right?
And I mean, this is this is probably going to be, I don't know, half the size of this room, the same length,
yeah,
but maybe half the
probably
width.
the same length, but probably slightly narrower.
Enough room for a couple of rows of couches. Not a big event space, but
Yeah.
big enough to screen a movie.
Yeah.
with people.
We'll have some people over, and we can screen movies, and we can sit down in a theater type setting and hear the sound as we're intending it to sound like.
Yeah.
Um, and then beyond that, we're going to have an editing room as well, which is just kind of I'm envisioning it as a dark creative space, you know, and you go in and have you ever seen those? It's it. So a few years ago, it was really big. They would put a Trueform runner inside of a Connex box, no light inside, and you would get on the Trueform runner, and they would leave you in there for like 6 hours or 12 hours or whatever, and you had to see how far you'd run.
Weird.
So you're in this deprivation, and you
So
had to see.
you have no way
Yeah,
to.
to no way to know. And
Oh wow.
I did one, and they weren't going to tell you how long they were going to leave you in there, right? So, and I kind of kept my eye on it. It was like an
That's
event.
a weird mental exercise.
Yeah, it was kind of it was in an event, and I was watching. They weren't leaving anybody in there longer than 45 minutes, right? Which is a significant amount of time to run in pitch blackness. So I went in there. I think they left me in there for something like 32 minutes. I ran the equivalent of a 5K or whatever, which
Yeah.
was,
Okay. Yeah.
pretty close to my pace on a Trueform runner at the time. So, but yeah, it was a really weird mental exercise. And that, for some reason, is how I see the editing room. Like, obviously, it's not going to be, but it's just like a sound, like a deprivation room where you just have the edit.
Yeah.
You have your computer, you have like your whatever to eat. There's going to be a kitchenette, with,
Yeah. I mean, like a kitchen microwave, coffee maker, whatever.
yeah. Something, something where you can go, like a fridge, a mini fridge. You can go in there. You can get your
So we can have kind of a green room for
Yeah.
when people come in and shoot.
right, and then you get to go in there and just create. There'll be a couch in the back for the director to be there, or like a cot or something like
Yep.
that. And then hopefully another, like, we can expand a little bit and have a place for like a sound recordist or somebody who's working on sound to be in there. I just like I have all these.
Yeah.
These
So
visions.
a control room / editing bay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
When you think about the needs for each of these different kinds of environments, like their needs are very similar.
yeah,
Technically,
right.
which is why we're trying to design it for multiple purposes.
And we have the opportunity to do it from the ground up.
Exactly. Like we don't have to build this into a basement
Yeah.
or anything like that. Literally, it's a big open field.
Yeah.
One of the other ideas was like, well, we want to be able to entice people to come out here.
Right.
So we need a place for people to stay.
Yep.
So we may have
So, yeah.
maybe a couple rooms
Yeah.
where people could actually stay inside the space. And so they could come out for a week,
Yeah.
Book the place and just, you never have to leave.
Yeah.
You got your studio space, you got your restoring space, your editing space. You can even like preview a cut. Like it's all in the same building.
Yeah. So like
You just don't have a stove.
Yeah, you could come down and I'll probably add a stove. But
They go to a restaurant somewhere.
yeah. I mean, you could come down with your creative team. I see it as an oasis for small creative teams, like these creative teams of 10, 12 people, right? They come down, they can all kind of crash out together, have their own space, or you can stay in a hotel locally or something like that. But you can just rent the studio space. We can get you an audio engineer, we can get you an editor, we can get you all these things. And I actually pitched this idea to some friends of ours working in the Tucson and the Phoenix area. And they were like, it's fantastic. I pitched it to Vic Rogers.
Oh.
And he was like, dude, if you need me to come down, like hammer nails, I'll drive down there and help.
I love Vic so much.
Yeah.
I don't think he even knows.
Yeah. So it just, a lot of people are really excited about it, and we're really excited about it. And if, worst comes to worst, I end up with a really big building that I can't do anything with, and maybe I build a gym in there and build cars, or, just store a bunch of junk.
But I mean, this is the dream space, and I really think with everything we've planned out, you talk to other people, I think they would agree this is kind of the dream.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and it's not all gonna happen at once. You know, like we're gonna have to spend time building the sounds, the audio recording room, right? We're gonna have to spend time building gear up there, and have to get gigs to make it work, and find financing for that kind of stuff in the beginning. You know, we're gonna try to do it as debt free as possible, because that's just my wife is in finance,
Yeah.
and she has like this weird obsession with Dave Ramsey, so whatever. But we're trying to do business as smart as we can, and then hopefully be able to entice as many people as we can. Like I want to get photographers. You know, I want photographers to come. I want small
And
filmmakers to
there's
come
so
out.
many in this area. There's essentially one photography space,
Yeah,
and every other photographer they just go on
yeah, they
location.
just go outside.
But what if they could just rent a studio?
Yeah, and I don't even think Holidays is available for rent.
I don't
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
There are several rental places in the Phoenix area, and I've been to a couple of them, and I'm thinking in my mind, I don't think this would be hard to outdo. And I'm not, nothing bad on these rental places, but I'm thinking, like, I could build out this soundstage and just partition it off for 11 different types of photo shoots, right?
Yeah, I mean we've talked about, maybe there's green screen, maybe there's a big psych,
Hmm.
like, and then obviously you start getting some big backdrops and some props.
Right.
You get, the right lights in there, and it's like, boom, this is just
Yeah. So,
ready to go.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And not that I'm thinking this is gonna be on par or even be able to compete with anything that they're doing in New Mexico.
Or
But
Tyler Perry.
yeah, but well, I look at it and I feel like, okay, so it's getting harder to make movies in LA right now, right? It's just
Well, I mean, the fact that the state was shut down for a year
yeah.
made things difficult, for
Well,
sure.
and it's not just that, right? There's permitting things and just lots of different things. It's just what's happening
And
there.
everyone is aware of it,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're in public and you have a camera,
Uh-huh.
someone is going to say, "Where's your permit?"
Yeah. And it's kind of the same way things got difficult for Arizona back like in the 50s and 60s, right? Because Arizona was a really hot place to shoot because we made all the westerns, right? And then state laws made it a little bit more difficult, and because all this money got involved, it just got a little bit more difficult, and so a lot of more projects moved out this way or moved out that way. And like Atlanta right now is killing it. New Mexico right now is absolutely
Killing it.
killing it.
Hmm.
There's so many productions happening out there right now, so many big ones, and it's taking time. And I don't know. I'm like, we've got a couple like the big two. We're like right smack dab in the middle of two of the places that it's really easy to make movies. We live in a state that has a rich history of making movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's try to reach back out and try to make that happen again. And like I said, I don't think it's gonna be
There's a lot of
competitive.
benefits for us
Yeah.
having, a nice little space, and you've explained this to me.
Hmm.
Some people want to get out of town.
Yeah.
They want to go to this nice little oasis, where it's quiet.
Hmm.
I mean, traffic is when there's more than one car at the stop.
Yeah. And there's not even a stop out there. This is
This
yeah.
way, it's gonna be outside town, but you're minutes away from,
Oh yeah. I mean,
lots and lots of really good
hmm
food,
there's
affordable places to stay.
yeah. And in a town that's already used to accommodating outside people, we live outside some of the world's biggest producing mines. So,
Right.
uh, you know, it's a hospitable place. But I just think that it could be, and I know I've said this about a lot of things,
Go
and not
on.
many of them have come to fruition, but I really think this could be a lot of fun. A very fun place to be, to come down to make movies. I've already talked to Burning Bulb, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, yeah, come down, shoot for 5 days, you know?
It's Yeah. I mean, because something that them and I'm sure other people are doing is,
Hmm.
you go get an Airbnb somewhere, somewhere that's big enough that you can stay, that you can shoot at, whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, this is similar, except
You get a studio.
this is built for sound.
Yeah.
You can edit on site.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay there. Like it's
And eventually I'm hoping to build up our gear enough that we can say, hey,
we can rent it out.
do you wanna rent an Alexa while you're here? And maybe not an Alexa, but you know, we can start. We can say, hey, look, we've got a cinematographer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work with them here. We can offer you a grip crew. We can get you. These are the kinds of things that I'm envisioning. You come down here with your production team. You give us a couple of days. We get everything set up for you. I'd like to get a Connex box that I just fill with props. Like just
Oh, that's
random movie
props
stuff.
and costumes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just random movie stuff, and be able to have closets full of that kind of thing, and like here, you have access to this, you have access to that.
Man, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's
I thought about the gear locker, but not the.
yeah.
Man,
I'm excited for a gear locker because right now we have like all this stuff spread out between your house, my car, your car.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to have one place that we can walk into.
Yeah.
And maybe you roll over a C stand for your light, and you hit record, or
Yep.
you sit down inside Studio B
Yep.
and start recording your audio podcast or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think we bill it right, we find the right price, we get the right clients, and it's gonna be busy.
And that's what I've been doing this year is just trying to make these contacts, right? Like the film community in Arizona is really quite small, but it's extremely strong. Right now, I'm working on a film called The Maiden, with Savannah Griffin. Is that her last name? Dang it. Hopefully she doesn't.
When you just go by first name.
I know. Anyway, she's a really talented director. She just graduated from film school, and this is kind of her. This is her
Post-student film.
yeah, her post-student film. She's trying and it's a short film. And I'm helping out with production, and she hasn't made anything in Arizona in a while. She went to school in LA, and she's like, okay, so what do you have out here? And I'm like, well, I know this person, this person, this person, this person. Let's make this person. Let's have a call. We sat down and we did 2 days of interviews, and she was like, wow, the talent out here is really good. The talent out here is really good.
Once
Everybody,
you get to know who's here,
yeah, everybody's
and
coming
people
prepared.
they
Yeah,
like to work.
yeah. All these people are willing to work, and I'm learning so much from her. Just from the professional side of filmmaking. She's like
Because so much. I mean, we've had to essentially teach ourselves a lot of things.
yeah, and this was something I was explaining to her the other day. She said, "Yeah, no, like if you need it, let's just get it." And I'm like, "Well, but I have one, I have one, or I learned how to edit because I didn't have an editor, right? I learned how to do sound because I didn't have a guy to do sound." She's like, "No, we'll just get a sound guy."
And that we've been jack of all trades, right?
Yeah.
Like you can find someone who can do this, or you can learn how to do it and you don't have to wait.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what we did.
Yeah, I don't have to call somebody and say, "Hey, can you come out here and do this for me?" And I just don't. I have the gear over there. I'll grab it and I'll go figure it out. And that's kind of been Jacob and I's. I don't know. That's kind of been our attitude towards a lot of things. Is like, well, how hard could it be?
Right?
Turns out it's really hard.
Yeah. Okay. So I just spent off and on a year editing a feature, right?
Yeah.
So 1 hour, 48 minutes and 21 seconds. That was the first complete cut before credits and, a few other things. Probably I don't know.
Yeah.
Give or take. That's a long movie.
Yeah.
That's a long movie.
It's a long
but
film.
we shot it. We edited it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little embarrassed doing the credits because it literally is currently as it stands. There's an entire screen that's just my name, but they're all different jobs.
Yeah.
It's like I either don't credit myself.
Now you're composing it.
Right? It's like, okay, well, who's doing VFX? I am. Okay. Who's doing sound editing and mixing? Who's writing the music? They're not the same job.
Yeah.
You don't just say, I edited it.
Yeah.
who's a colorist, right? They're all different jobs.
Yeah.
They're all me.
So, but anyway, so I'm really looking forward to continuing to build those relationships and get all this. I think it'd be really, really fun. And then once the house is built, I can be like, hey, look, there's a couple rooms.
You can really fit a lot of people.
And then if it ever gets bigger, we can build a small, apartment complex for people to come and stay or whatever. I don't know, a little hotel.
A backlot? Did you just say a backlot?
Oh, I did say a backlot.
I just heard backlot.
Yeah.
You know who's living my best life right now? Jacob Owens.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
Buff Nerds.
Yeah.
He's living my best life.
He's
bought all these different properties that
and
he's making as locations, and he runs as like a couple different businesses. He's got like a LUT business and like a Prism for shooting through business, and he's got a lot of things. It's fantastic what he's doing. He's from Arizona, which I love, but he's just got all these, bought like a ranch and all these different things. And this is great.
Just living the dream.
I'll be honest, we're right there about to do
Yeah.
what we want to do, which is fantastic.
We're pretty close. Pretty close. So yeah, hopefully we can get that going and make it work.
We've got 17 minutes. We don't have that much time to have this conversation, but I want to start it.
Okay.
Again. Okay. What cinema camera is going to be the foundation for this next phase for us? And go.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's probably going to be the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema K6 Pro. Probably.
So I have a couple ideas on this front.
Because it's affordable. And also because I don't want to spend money on cameras anymore. I want to spend money on lenses.
There it is.
But and the basis of why we need a new camera is not because the R is not a good camera. The R is a great camera. The R is difficult to... We can export 10K footage, or 10-bit footage, I'm sorry. We can export 10-bit footage, which is what everybody wants as to purchase, right? That's what studios want. That's what colorists want. That's what editors want. That's what major motion picture, whatever streaming services want as a film.
And we can get C-Log.
Yeah.
But we don't have C-Log 2 or C-Log 3.
Right. Which is, and even that, not that big of a deal. It just, it takes so much other gear to make it happen. So right now, when we do it, we use the Atomos V, and we can shoot in C-Log, which isn't the flattest of all profiles, but it works. It's nice.
It hasn't. I've enjoyed grading it and editing it, and it's pliable. Like it gives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's better stuff out there. You just, if you're careful about your vision with everything before, you'll be fine. But what we need to be able to do now is we need to have an easier pathway to give people 10K footage in C-Log 2 or C-Log 3.
10-bit.
Yeah,
right.
10-bit footage. I mean, it would be great to be able to shoot in 12-bit footage. Honestly, I don't think we can afford the storage right now for 12-bit footage.
And that's, I mean, but once we jump over to even, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, I mean, RAW is, it's 12-bit. Like, it's there.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of storage space.
Yeah.
And storage gets expensive when you have that much.
And there's a lot of sacrifices that I don't like about it, but and really it just comes down to we need is a better tool to get this, to get the kind of footage that is sellable out. And so that's because honestly, sometimes I shoot on our R, and I think I could shoot on this like forever in 8-bit and be fine. But
It's
like
been pretty great.
you have to advance. Like you have to keep going. I really love the full frame look, and it's a full frame camera. But I
Mhm.
can't like if I want to sell really high quality footage, nobody's gonna buy it in 8K, in 8-bit. You know what I mean? And they're just immediately gonna see the file size and say no. So we need an easier pathway to get there. So I considered very heavily the C500 Mark II. It's just and that's a camera that we would live on the back of for a long, long
It
time.
could be a workhorse.
Like that's probably a camera we would likely never get rid of. I don't see that camera going out of style for another 15 years, just because you can export 10-bit, it's full frame, you know,
It has all the things.
a year and a half ago it was the best you could get on the bottom end of the cinema camera, and it's still today is pretty dang good.
It's great. Yeah.
It's just maybe on the used market, but it's hard to find. It's still just slightly out of that price range. Unless we start landing bigger projects, right? Then that's probably the way I would want to go.
And that's one of the benefits of us having a studio
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, there are zero big projects coming here to shoot
Right,
because there's no reason.
right.
But if we can start to produce out here, if we have studio space, if we have crew,
Yeah,
and we can show it, and there's gear that they can rent here,
yeah.
then it starts to become,
Then
I
it's
can get out of the
viable.
city, it's affordable, all the things are there. It probably costs less than shooting even in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Because I recently priced out gear from a Phoenix rental house, and it was not cheap. Like,
Well, yeah, it's a business, right?
yeah, and I was looking at it. It was I wanted to rent a C500 for 3 days with a set of K-mount cannons, right? This is all very high end stuff, right? And I was just playing, I was just uh, playing Dream Day, right? It was $3,500
For how many days?
for 3 days for that gear, and
Okay.
I still had to drive out and get it, and it didn't come with any of the accessories, right? Like I was gonna just use my own.
And that's pretty
Yeah,
consistent with what you're going to see.
and
Yeah.
and I looked at that and thought, I could buy one of those lenses for that much money, use it
Mm-hmm.
for a really long time. So that would be the goal is to be able to have that kind of stuff, bring it here and say, hey, look, come to your production here. We can provide you with this camera,
We
this
got a full
camera.
set of
Yeah,
this series lens. We've got, yeah.
you know. So, but I definitely think that we do need to get to the point where we can make this footage, where we can export this higher bit footage a little bit faster. And to do that, Blackmagic's probably the way to go right now.
I think the next step from where we're at is probably like the 6K Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Like a step above that. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I really don't know how I feel about this. Might be like a couple Komodos.
Yeah. Mm,
I don't know how I feel about it. But what it does do is it gets you the red codec,
mhm,
like their color science,
which is highly desirable.
a lot of people like it. I mean, it's not everyone does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but but you can get the red raw.
Mm-hmm.
It's a global shutter,
Yeah.
and it's much. I mean, and it's gonna fit all our lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's a lot of pros for that.
Yeah.
I was. So I've been doing a deep dive into this lately, looking at the C70 versus the Komodo because they're similar
Mhm.
price range. They have the similar amount, right?
Uh-huh.
Like it's, you know, and the people who are criticizing the Komodo are people who really just want to shoot mirrorless. Like
Yeah.
they don't want to have to like they don't want a cinema camera.
Yeah.
That's not what they want. Well, if we have a studio space,
Yeah. We need a
well, yeah,
cinema.
we can totally have a cinema camera,
Right.
and like we have all the back end that we can run the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, I I I I think we take one of two strategies.
Mm.
We get one, maybe two of the 6Ks,
Yeah.
and we start building out our lens. Which, I mean, it's going to be an EF set of lens,
Yeah.
like Canon glass, because that just works with all the things that we do.
Right.
Or we start buying the lenses and we eventually get the mount that we want or
Right.
get the body that we want.
Hmm. Which is kind of the way I'm leaning, because I really don't want to spend more money on a camera body. I don't care. I want to start getting good lenses. Like, I want a full set of Zines. Now, are those the best lenses? No, but I've shot with them a couple of times now. They're really good, like noticeably better than other things I've worked with, right? Now, obviously, like the step up after that would be I don't even know what's in between there. PLs,
Well, I mean, that's just the mount, right? But
but
the
Zeiss probably.
once you jump up, well, I mean, there's some other cameras starting to hit the same price range as the Zine,
Yeah,
right? I mean, at that point, people really have to know what they're talking about to look at that lens and say
yeah,
there's something better
yeah,
because it's a legit cinema lens.
yeah,
You know, they've just came out with a new series, so they're 1700 or they're like 2500
right.
if you get the carbon fiber or whatever.
Hmm.
But they're big fat cinema lenses.
And you can get them in a PL mount now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people are taking notice of it. I was watching a review the other day with Shane Hurlbutt from Hurlbutt Academy. He's a
Hmm.
he's a DP out of Hollywood, and he was comparing it to the what was he, the Canon cinema line and
The K
something
line or
else.
whatever. The K35s.
He was comparing it to the others, and he's talking about a little colors a little bit off, but other than that, like it holds up, and it's a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
Like they're good lenses.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to shoot through some Canon K35s before I die. Because
I mean,
it's the basis of all the cool movies that I
in the
loved
end,
growing
yeah, I mean,
up.
we'll eventually get some a series of anamorphic lenses, and
Yeah.
we'll get
Yeah.
up to where we'll have our $20,000 lenses and things like we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there, and then we'll have
Mhm.
a couple Alexas or whatever. But right now, I think the step is probably one, maybe two of the 6K Pros. We build out an EF
We build out an EF lineup,
lineup of,
which is
4,
getting
5,
more.
6
Yeah.
lenses.
Now that the RF line of lenses is becoming
Mhm.
more popular, EFs are getting more affordable, and they're not yet in that range where they're like the FDs, where they're just legendary and everybody wants to pay a bunch of money for them. They're still expensive, but you can get good quality glass, and we already have a pretty good lined out set of EF. I'd like to start getting some really solid primes.
Mm.
That's where I'd like to build the kit out from there.
Yeah.
And then I would really like to move on to some legit cinema glass through Zine, most likely, because everything else is just out of the price range. But I don't know. It's just. But the bottom line is, we need a camera that is affordable right now. That is travelable. Travelable. Is that a verb?
Transferable? I don't
Yeah.
know. Where are you going with it?
We need a camera that can get us to that 10-bit footage or 12-bit footage faster, make it easier for us to do. Even if it doesn't necessarily give me the look that I really want, it's the output that I need to make more streamlined, that we need to make more streamlined, so that we can be an easier crew of people to hire, so that does that make sense?
Yeah. It's all about workflow at this point.
Yeah. Which is weird. I spent so much of my life just envying gear. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't envy gear still, because I definitely do. But at this point, I'm just all about workflow. It feels like a mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking about a project and you're like, "Oh, that's going to be so much work."
Yeah.
That's a workflow problem.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't know. So that's probably the way we're gonna go. Unless I actually really like what Sony is doing.
Sony's got a great lineup, but it's not the glass that we want to invest in.
It's just not. It's not the way we want to go. unfortunately. I love their low light capabilities. I love what the Alpha has done. I love what they've done with the A7S3 or 4 or whatever it is they're on now.
Mm-hmm.
They're making some amazing gear, but we would have to switch. We would have to change directions drastically in our glass. And you know,
Yeah, ultimately, I think we know the glass we want, which, gives us
yeah.
3 brands to work with for the
Mhm.
body.
So
Yeah, so we've got exciting things coming up in the future. Hopefully in the next several episodes we can get a release date. I mean, we have talked about, 1, 2 local screenings of Ace when it comes out.
yeah,
We don't know exactly when that's going to be. I'm trying to tell myself I can be patient and get it right.
Mhm.
We put a whole lot of work into this. The cast sacrificed a lot. We want to make sure,
yeah.
we're not the reason why it's got an issue with it.
For our peeps, so many people did so well on and did so much work on this film,
Mm-hmm.
and we really just want to make sure that we roll out a good product for them. So
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I think that's the
yeah,
episode.
I think that's about all the time we have for today, guys and gals. We appreciate you being out.
If you man, if you want to hear more about what we're doing, you can go to our website, carpeandzen.com. CARPEANDZEN.
ZEN. Go out and
That's
seize
us.
the Zen. Somebody. Oh, I went to get our taxes today, and they said, "Hey, Carpe Diem's here." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. Carpe and Zen."
I think we're like the Oneaters. It's always going to be a thing, but that's okay.
That's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for being here with us. Sorry we forgot what episode we were on, but for all the people that have listened all the way to the end, thank you. Seriously, it helps us. Comment below. Seriously, that helps us as well. If you're watching on YouTube, or share with your friends. We could always use the help that way. It helps us, helps us be able to continue to keep doing what we love doing and bringing you guys the most righteous, awesome content.
And this is only a fraction of what we're working on right now.
Yeah, so. But seriously, thanks for staying with us. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.